Hello, everyone, and welcome. That's not how you say welcome. Hello, and welcome to the Drexel Free Thought Society weekly podcast. The Drexel Free Thought Society is proudly the only secular organization at Drexel University. We like talking about stuff. We think about things all the time, and we think freely, which means we tend to be unburdened by the clutches of religious belief. But that's not necessarily true, as some people are able to do both, which I am endlessly curious about. Today we are discussing damaging thought patterns, and more specifically, are religious ideas damaging thought patterns? Do they erode the otherwise robust ideas of the human psyche? And how long can I keep talking within this 1 minute?
Let's find out.
Let's find out.
Let's set a world record.
The world record for the most talking in 1 minute?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure it's 60 seconds.
Huh. Wow. Maybe most words in a single minute.
That's probably a world record.
Okay.
In fact, I'm going to look that up while people are talking. We brought a number of news stories with us, and we're probably going to dive into them really soon. But before we do that, let's introduce ourselves. We haven't done that in a while. And we have a new person, which means we definitely have to, if you feel like introducing yourself.
Absolutely.
All right, go for it. You go first.
Well, I'm Douglas Whitmire. I'm an anthropology student here and a transfer student. Yes.
Both exciting.
Indeed. That is
You're slightly soft-spoken, which means you might have to talk a little louder so the speaker next to your hand picks it up.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
Or
that's
he'll
the
get
depth
angry
of it.
eventually.
Yes.
All right.
Go ahead, mysterious dude.
Okay, so I'm Batman. No, I'm just kidding. My name is Steve, and I'm a history major.
Batman is Steve.
Yes, Batman. Batman is a history major.
I guess I am Dante, and I guess I am the vice president of the Drexel Free Thought Society, and I guess I'm enjoying myself right now. I guess.
That's nice. I'm glad you say things with such certainty.
You guess. You don't know. You think.
As possibly previously stated, I don't actually remember the beginning of this podcast. I am David McDevitt, the president of the Drexel Free Thought Society, and I will talk continuously with this velvety voice.
Is Vel answer material?
I don't know. Actually, you have a much more velvety voice than I do.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yes.
Oh, helpful.
Very nice.
It says more like chocolate or something. No.
Is that a
No.
race thing?
No. No.
Voices
Hey,
have a flavor.
hey.
No.
We
do not go there. We do not go there.
hey, we will talk about racism, but we won't be racist.
I'm not being racist. I'm not being racist.
What is racist?
I think he's like defending himself a little too much.
A little bit. Feels as though that's an admission of guilt.
Hey, can I use that?
I'm pretty sure like all white people are like secretly afraid of being racist.
Really?
Yeah, because like if you're branded racist, people are like, "Oh my god."
I don't mean to be racist, but
Oh yeah, always.
I don't mean to be
phrase is
racist.
only prefaced
but-
by racist things.
I don't mean to be racist, but slavery, man, that was a thing.
Golden years.
wow.
Whoa, I was just stating the obvious. I don't know where you're coming with that.
So, what time will we expect Godwin's Law to appear?
Right now, Hitler.
It's actually amazing. Like Stalinism, Hitlerism will actually come up probably at least once in every conversation.
Very nice.
It's such an easy go-to thing.
The longer the conversation goes on, the more likely.
The more likely, yeah.
Yeah.
This is my
Which
mathematically proof.
it's like, to be fair, that is a good segue. What a really damaging thought pattern is the idea that one group has to be hated, and the rest, and they cause all the trifles and harm to the society. Otherwise known as scapegoating. Can we name a religion that does not use the idea of scapegoating?
Buddhism?
Yeah.
Buddhism?
Is it really considered a religion, though? Some people don't consider it a religion. Some people.
That is kind of true.
Some people think. Some
Buddhism
people
is
consider
kind
it
of like a
philosophy.
lifestyle almost.
Yeah. But it all depends on, because again, there's many different types.
There's a I forget what it's called, and I don't want to say the wrong thing because otherwise it'll sound silly. Like last week when I said the wrong person died.
I remember that, yeah.
I did this huge rant on Sylvia Brown and how I was how the world is better now that she's dead. But I said the wrong person. I said Wendy Wright.
And this would be...
Wendy Wright's the president of I think it's Women for the American Way.
The one that Dawkins owned?
Yeah, she is a blithering idiot. And she is known as one of the greatest U.S. apologists. Which says something.
Yes.
I'm not sure what it says, but I'll definitely claim I know what it says. But Sylvia Brown is like the really hyped up psychic who has single-handedly derailed like a dozen different police investigations.
Oh, okay.
So
Sounds productive.
I flat out said, though I do not wish death on anyone, but the world is better now that she's dead.
Which is kind of like wishing death on her.
It's not. I don't want to kill people that I think are damaging humanity.
It is, but it isn't.
It's not.
He's subtle about it.
I will say flat out, I do not want anyone to die. I do want lots of people to shut up, but I don't want
Okay,
them to
I agree
die.
with you there. There are a lot of people
I
that need to
definitely
shut
agree
up.
with that.
Yeah.
I think I want people to shut up and find more productive uses of their time.
like,
Ken Hovind.
or the people who made those like dating tips for Christians. Yeah, they need to get a life.
Oh, I found another list of fun things.
Oh.
And I think we'll do that when the conversation gets lax.
Yes.
But anyway, scapegoating, I think, is a good beginning damaging thought pattern. The idea that you're able to shovel all of the problems, including the ones you cause, onto some group of people. The origin of it is the flat-out scapegoating. The village will heap the sins of the village onto a goat, and then shove it into the desert so it dies of exposure, thereby relieving the group of all the sins.
That makes sense.
Of course.
Is that where the term comes from?
Yes.
Yes, that is true.
Interesting.
I looked it up. It was pretty
And
interesting.
we still do it. The reason I bring up the Godwin's Law is that blame everything on the Jews.
Let's see where this is
Blame
going.
everything on the
Yeah.
Romani. Blame everything on homosexuals. Blame everything on atheists.
And Jehovah's Witnesses.
I kind of left the Hitler thing by moving into these other subjects. But that's what he did. He said, effectively, all the ills of society are blamed on the Jews. Let's kill the Jews and ignore where all of these problems are actually coming from, and then we'll all be fine.
It sounds like a form of delusion.
It is a form of delusion.
Severe
yeah.
form of delusion.
And it's a form of diverting people from the actual problem.
And a lack of
So
responsibility.
it's like,
Exactly.
is it like this negative or the damaging thought pattern thing that you're talking about?
Yeah,
It's like,
I think one damaging thought pattern is scapegoating,
Yeah.
and this is something that religion uses wholeheartedly. It love the sinner but hate the sin is like just stupid and a non sequitur. It's like the things that you're labeling as sin is not what is actually causing the problems in your life. It's like, surprise, surprise, but gay people
don't cause earthquakes.
do not cause earthquakes.
Sin itself is an extremely subjective thing.
It's like there's three.
Me doing this could be a sin. Just bang
Yeah.
on the table.
No, there's 3 or 4 classical sins that I would agree are damaging to society, and
Like?
those are like murder,
Agreed.
adultery, maybe, but that's kind of subjective.
Gray area.
That is kind of a
that's
gray
very
area.
gray.
But I think like on a large scale, it might be damaging. But even that's up for argument.
Yeah.
Murder is one, stealing is another, lying is another, and in all of these, the only way you can actually dissect them and figure out which things are actually damaging and which situations are not
Mhm.
is by actually taking responsibility for those actions. Like murder is sometimes okay.
Really?
This is why we get different definitions. Like manslaughter
Is that murder?
is one person killing another person. By classical definitions, it's murder, but it's acceptable murder under very specific circumstances. Like if you're driving your car and someone jumps in front of your car, you are the cause of their death, but so are they.
Wouldn't they be though? Because
No, they're there also,
His loss
which is
is
why you do not have responsibility for that person's death. They dub that more of that individual's responsibility than yours. But then there's complete accidental manslaughter. Like, I know this is a really stupid example.
Shooting a gun. Okay, I got a good one. Shooting a gun into the air and having a bullet fly up, fall down, and kill somebody.
Still completely
Yeah,
idiotic.
which is completely stupid, and you should have like your gun taken away, and you should probably spend a bit of time in jail
It's true. Yeah,
because it's just
yeah.
like you're an idiot.
You're an idiot
Stay
for
in here
shooting
until
the
you
gun.
learn
Yeah.
about what you did.
Believe me, as a person who uses guns once in a while, I would look at that person like they're the biggest moron in the world.
Like if I saw someone shooting in the air, I'm just like, where's the nearest basement? Because there's a chance that I'll be hit by that stray bullet. There's there's really annoying physics figuring out exactly where that bullet's going.
We're not going to figure it out now.
Yeah, you're not
Still
going to figure it
time.
out.
So I'm just like, screw this noise. I'm hiding in the basement. Anyway, so their personal responsibility, that's the thing that you have to actually focus on. Not the idea of scapegoating and not the idea of sin. Because all it does is completely alleviate you from any of your own, autonomy.
Any blame,
Anything.
responsibility.
I think that's the biggest problem. I can only speak for America. In America, is the lack of responsibility. You have, if you go on the news, just look on the news, any of those news channels where they have somebody speaking, and there seems to be a huge dilemma. Very rarely will you see that person claim any responsibility for something that's going on in the country. I'll even say that I've probably done a few things that, I shouldn't do because as a collective it would harm our society. I think we've all done something dumb. But I recognize that, and I'm doing my best to, rectify those situations. But you have people on these news channels, especially Fox, which is infamous.
Oh my god! No.
All right, well they'll be like,
I thought you said news channel.
News channel.
It's not a news
sorry.
channel, it's a propaganda
It's a pseudo news channel. It's a chameleon. Okay, it's a TV chameleon. But anyways, they'll go on there and they'll be like, yeah, it's because of all those atheists or all those gay guys or it's because of those brown skinned people, what have you. And then here's the worst part. Whenever they create a scapegoat, they very rarely have any actual strong evidence that this particular group is the cause of all the mayhem that they're complaining about. Which makes it even worse.
Because I think there is legitimacy to say, I don't know, what's a good example? If there was a garbage strike, the reason the garbage is not being picked up is because the garbage men are on strike.
Well, that's a fact.
Yes, but you see, that's different than scapegoating because you can actually blame either the people in the public council or whatever that they're arguing with to figure out what their pay is going to be.
Or
It's,
you could blame
it's their collective responsibility.
Or you could blame the trash can.
Yeah,
You could.
You could just burn trash cans in effigy because that'll definitely fix the situation.
Fall to the trash. Kick them in the street.
That is exactly what you're. No, actually, this is probably a better. Is you're blaming. I'm gonna get kind of real for a moment. You're blaming the Indian couple that lives next to you. You're blaming them for the garbage not showing up, or for the garbage trucks for not showing up.
Okay.
And it's basically like that. That's the idea of completely finding people that have nothing to do with the situation. Except maybe, let's say your garbage man is an Indian person. And you're just like, oh...
Well, that's just a coincidence.
No, I know it's just a coincidence. But that's basically where every single scapegoating I can think of comes from. Is just a coincidence.
You know what that sounds like? That sounds like a prejudice that somebody already possesses. And they're trying to find a way to connect their prejudice with an totally unrelated problem.
And now
So
Dante has discovered the source of
projecting-
scapegoating.
So they're
Well done,
projecting
Dante.
their prejudices onto the people they onto their problems. Okay, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
they're projecting their problems onto people and creating any justification they can. If you do the classic, we're going to go back to Hitler.
Oh boy,
Hi, Hitler.
Do you know why the Jews were such an easy target?
because they were wealthy.
No, kind of. The reason they were kind of wealthy is because of the Judeo-Christian background. Is the only jobs they could get were being bankers and money changers and some kinds of merchants. And then, surprise, then they gained control of money. Who saw that coming? But one of the reasons that any of this happened was because a long history of hating Jews and blaming Jews for killing Jesus. There was already prejudice against Jews. So Hitler could have just kind of gone, do you know what else the Jews did?
Poisoned your wells, killed your babies.
It's they also caused the impurity of our society. And they also cause all the crime.
And people will believe it.
Because the prejudice already exists.
And it stood the test of time, and a lot of people believe that if something existed for a long period of time, then it must be right, which is one of the worst fallacies ever. But because of that, they're like, oh, to anything he attaches on to the Jews, they're like, yeah, exactly. Those Jews, they contribute to a plague. Yeah, the plague.
And it happens now. There's still a huge amount of racism in our society.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
it's just completely.
And
rampant.
this is what's just it's just silly at this point. Because it's just
That was just
I've heard people
earlier.
flat out say it's I'm trying to think of an appropriate way to word this. It's like a fact that there's a lot of minorities in lower income areas. So I've heard people say it's black people's fault for being poor.
I would look at it,
No.
and it's funny
I
because
know,
I'm
it doesn't
considered a
make
black
any
person
sense.
here, but it is stupid. I look at it it just so happens that yes, there are, like you said,
It's effectively they did it to themselves. So we shouldn't help lower
No.
income. We shouldn't help lower income people.
which is definitely false.
They're poor because we created a system that's biased against them.
I mean, you and Richard
No,
talked
but
about
here's
this,
the thing: is it has nothing to do with race.
That's what they think.
That's like
they think
I
the
know
skin
I know
color-
you're not doing it. You're not saying that, but you're beginning to fall into a trap that a lot of people do. It like minority groups. It has nothing to do with the fact that they're minority groups. That's not a factor. It's just that people are kind of forced to live where their parents gave birth to them,
Oh yeah.
You gotta look at the
So-
history of that.
and you had to figure out where did these groups come from. They came from lower income places to begin with.
So
And
it's
it
a
just
cycle.
it perpetuates
Okay.
itself. And if you live in a lower income area, the schools are crappy because the property taxes are really low, and everything just recycles itself.
Yeah, and there was a stigma.
Richer places stay richer, and poorer places stay poorer. It has nothing to do with race.
Now
Just
maybe
look how many poor white people there are.
True.
There are lots of them.
there's a ton of them. So go to Ohio. I was in Ohio for a while. There's a ton
My
of
God, no.
There's a ton.
Don't go
But
to
unfortunately, in some cases, back then when people really put race on a pedestal,
Excuse me.
that may have been the cause back then. People having prejudice against somebody of a skin color. It was like, let's keep them in these wretched areas and we'll live here. And then after a while, after that racism kind of died, I'm not saying that racism still isn't strong, but you no longer see colored water fountains and white water fountains. But that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, the
now-
institutional racism is gone.
Yeah, but
But-
now...
But it still exists.
But now
idea.
the
No, but
institution...
the institutional racism, where they're just like, oh, you're black, over there.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
Right,
white, you
yeah.
go over there.
But
Oh,
the-
I don't know what color you are. You go over there with the black people.
But now you have people who still try to perpetuate that institutionalism
Yeah,
of the
because
racism,
they think
and
that
it
it's
makes
real
it worse.
because not cyclical, it's recycling.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
they
so
think that
stupid.
because it exists and it's been like that for a long time, it's true.
Again,
And
the
then
whole test of time
and
fallacy.
it's their responsibility to fix it. It's people who a lot of people, and like I have great respect for people that are able to get out of low income areas by their bootstraps. Like, good job. Like that is one of the most
Quite a few
impossible.
people have done it.
No, but it takes like generations.
Oh,
to
it takes a
people.
long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you have to basically think, I want my grandchildren to get out of here.
So you have to start planning that far ahead.
Like
Yeah.
that's how
You got to
bad
really
it is.
push. You got to really push.
So anyway, I completely lost my train of thought.
Here's some about the low income coming out.
Low income cycle.
Yeah,
Stuff
it's,
like that.
It's incredibly difficult to get out of them, and it's very common for people to basically blame them for being in that situation to start with.
I look at it as an individual thing because let's just be honest. You do have like let's just take the low income area. Philadelphia is a perfect example. You have a lot of people here, and unfortunately, they were grown up in an area where certain mindsets, certain deleterious mindsets that we're talking about right now, does perpetuate themselves. But you have those few people who kind of see outside of that area. They're able to explore their world a bit more, whether it's online or whether it's traveling somewhere else. And they're able to escape that pit of despair. Meanwhile, you do have some people where they do possess the power. Like some of these low income areas, some of them do have computers and stuff. Some do have access to books and everything. They just choose not to do it because they believe they were already programmed that, hey, this is where I got to be at. I have to act this way in order to live. Where this other individual is like, look, I remember where I came from, but I know that I can do better than this.
It's almost like it's like a societal based Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, I think that was one of the best. I think that's a great description. That is a great description, actually. A societal Stockholm syndrome.
I
It's
thought
like
Stockholm syndrome is when you grow to like sympathize with a person who like kidnaps you or something.
well, think about it.
You sympathize with the environment that you're born in.
The
and never
society has
want to get out
kind of
of it.
held you captive.
Oh.
Yeah, the society, well, not even the society, just the area that you're in is kind of holding you captive, and you feel obligated to live there because that's where you were born. That's
It's
where
like
you were fed.
what the terrible irony of this kind of mindset is like you can do way more help outside of there than you can within, which is, it seems so backwards now that I actually say it out loud, but it's like you can do so much more good if you want to
That is true.
from the outside.
Yes.
But this is the one problem: is most people don't want to.
Because they think they can't, right? Or they think they don't.
No, it's like once you're out, you want to stay out.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
and if you never were in there, it takes. Like I've never been in a low income area. I've been extremely fortunate in my life.
it can be scary.
But when I go into those areas, when I look around, the only thing I think of is I want to help these people. Because it's just like, people don't have to live this way. Like, with garbage littering the streets, with people getting shot, where crime is not... Being a victim of crime is not something that you need to defend yourself of. It's something to be expected.
Jeez.
Yep.
It's
And
like that.
some of them are okay with that. That's the scary part.
And that's
Some people
like,
are okay with being victimized?
They're okay with living in a
There's
crime
a-
area. There's like, hey,
it's to
we
be
get duck
expected.
bullets. Yeah.
It is something that you are preparing yourself to deal with the consequences before it actually happens.
It's normal for them.
Oh.
You're going to get shot at. Just make sure you duck when the bullets hit.
Okay. That's not a very good mindset.
But a lot of people have
It's
that.
but it's necessary.
Why is it necessary?
That's what the environment is. It's necessary to think that way. But what's hard is to break away from that.
Interesting.
You've been kind of quiet. Would you like
I have
to-
been kind of quiet.
Because he's a listener.
Yes, I've just been thinking, mulling it over. Yeah.
Pipe in whenever you want.
I will.
Say whatever comes to mind. Burrito.
I mean, I also think that a certain, like, you develop a certain comfort level when you're in these places, like
Complacency.
like you were saying, like you become comfortable, you become to like expect this as your life, and then going outside of that, even when things are better, even when things are more prosperous, you feel this kind of like disconnected vibe. You don't. I mean, it's way out of your comfort zone, way out of everything that you've ever known, and I think it just pulls you back.
I've experienced that at least on, I would say, about 3 separate occasions. Especially with the military, going into college, just going to other countries. It's like a complete culture shock. I mean, I'll be honest with you, my upbringing wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst either. I wasn't born in like places where you had to duck bullets all the time, but I didn't get everything I wanted either, you know, or not even everything I need. I mean, I had food and shelter over my head, but you know, a lot of the other kids, they always got money or they always got all this and that, and I didn't get that stuff. I just had to live with what I had. And, you know, and it made you appreciate it a bit more, but I also knew that, well, I do want these other things, and not out of greed, but because, well, you know, I have a certain mindset, and I think that I'll be more comfortable in a different environment. So that's kind of why I went to the military, I went into college, I expanded my mind, I met different people, saw different places, and, you know, whatever prejudices I had when I was young, and I think that a lot of us when we were young had certain prejudices, a lot of those prejudices started going away. It's like I didn't think that this group of people was this anymore. I mean, I didn't think this was like this anymore, and I became a lot more open-minded about my world. And I'm not saying that you have to travel the world to do that, but it could be just as simple as getting on a separate bus and going to another part of town.
So basically, what you're saying is like the solution to breaking these like thought cycles and these problematic thinking is to expand your horizons.
That'd be
almost
one way.
completely.
Yeah,
And do you know what's actually
and the
kind
kind of people you're raised with.
it's being raised by really supporting people is important. But one thing that's really interesting, but kind of backwards and kind of terrible, is it's especially true with women.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just use a female, like a woman example, because I'm definitely qualified to say this.
Republican.
I
Definitely
mean,
qualified to say that there's such
No,
a
I
thing
mean,
as
there-
legitimate rape.
Wow.
Have you actually seen there's a Republican rape scale?
Oh
That's-
wait,
you know,
really?
the people the internet created.
Oh.
Like, they didn't actually create it.
I was
I'm
gonna
about
say
to
if
say,
they did
And
that,
it-
they're
it-
stupider
and
than.
it quoted like all of them.
Oh.
Look it up. It's hilarious how terrible it is. Anyway, that is not at all what I was talking about. It's just that in engineering, they did a cross study of like meta-analysis of all these different studies of why there aren't that many women in engineering fields. Like I think it's like 20/80. Like the percentages are way off, and we're just like, this is stupid. We're half and half. We should be half and half. And one of the key reasons of not like one of the big like after eliminating every other possible variable we could think of, the biggest reason that women will go into engineering is if there are women already in engineering.
Okay.
It's seeing a role model. If you don't see a successful woman in engineering or really any other
Oh
field,
no.
then you just won't. It tends to, people don't feel like they can do it themselves. The reason I bring this up is it's a pretty good analogy to people in low-income areas. If
I'm sorry, I just...
Dante, don't show people things that are funny.
Sorry.
Seriously though, did somebody actually
It was
say some girls
It was
they
the
rape
Republican
so
rape scale
easy?
for those.
Yes.
What?
Pe-
What kind of an idiot was
Unless I am proven wrong, every Republican person in power is an idiot.
That's
Feel free to prove me wrong. I'd be head over heels to find one that is intelligent.
Ron Paul.
He's really bad about a couple things, and libertarianism technically isn't Republican.
True.
Anyway, he has said some really dumb things.
If Richard Campbell was here,
Richard would tell you.
he would go in.
Wait, he doesn't like Ron Paul?
He did, and now he doesn't.
Oh, okay.
No, but what I'm saying about lower income folks, if you don't see someone who came from where you did and succeed, then why would you think you can?
That's true.
Like, I'm surrounded by people that come from my, like, what is it called? Socioeconomic status.
Background.
I'm surrounded by people who succeed in that regard. So I'm just like, of course I can do it if they can. But if you don't see somebody who's like came from very low income, was only able to get by working really hard and then succeeding, coming over those odds and being able to do really well, why would you think you can?
It's a huge gap of unknown there.
That's like a
doubt.
It's a huge hurdle that those people who did it had to get over.
So they have to overcome doubt and fear.
You have to get over doubt and fear, and that's hard to do sometimes.
It is.
Oh, I know.
To try something new.
And you see, what's actually funny is this has a corollary with religion. If you see people if you never saw someone that is not religious, you just shuffle your doubts away into a corner. Because everyone is religious, aren't they? Everyone believes in this God, don't they? I have talked with people. This was actually at our atheism table that we had earlier in the fall.
Which was amazing.
It was
we gotta do
one of the first people we talked to.
Yeah.
He was just like, what? Then we were talking about like afterlife stuff for a few minutes, and then he was like, well, then what do you think happens to your soul? And we asked, why do you think there's a soul?
Oh.
And he was just like, what?
He was flabbergasted.
No, he was excited. He was
Wait,
like,
why was what?
No, he was like, you mean that he was basically saying, you mean there's a possibility of there not being a soul? And he's like, yeah, there's no real evidence for one.
Well, you can't even define it half the time.
And in a 10-minute conversation, he left saying, you know what, I think I'm an atheist.
Wow.
And you know why? It's
Why?
because he's had nobody. I'd wager that he has had nobody
Question
actually
his beliefs?
confirm his doubts. He's had nothing but support in his, I'll flat out say, his delusional beliefs.
So support can also be a bad thing. Because
Yeah. Under the wrong influence.
I would say so. Which is so backwards. Support is actually a bad thing.
Let's face it, no matter how much of an introvert or an extrovert you are, and I'm an introvert, people do have an influence on me. You can sit here and say I'm a loner all day, but trust me, there's at least one person in the world that you observe in some sort of way and kind of take in. Humans, because we're generally social creatures by nature, we are going to absorb different things from different people, and sometimes some of those things are not the most pleasant things at all.
There is a reason that there's a difference between positive and negative reinforcement.
But sometimes you got to tell people that. You got to break it down in the most simplest things possible.
So we've been going on for a half hour about this one subject, so I think we can move on.
Yeah.
It all kinds of ties.
It's all like one big thing though. Like
Oh no, I went completely opposite directions. What's
more deleterious thinking?
What's a good one?
Like false dichotomy.
I know. Here's one we can talk about for just 15 minutes.
Okay.
Special treatment.
Special treatment.
Treatment of.
What was the other word?
Here's like a.
Was it affirmative action or due process decline? I always get those confused for some stupid reason.
Those are different things.
They're different things. Well, no, there's one that kind of fits into that.
Kind of affirmative action.
Affirmative action. That's right.
But anyway, so special treatment. Who hasn't heard from a religious group that they deserve to have these rights, but nobody else does?
And then you ask why.
Yeah.
And what do they say?
We deserve them because we're special.
Prove it.
I asked about
Here, the classic one that has finally been challenged in the most fantastic way is, we talked about this last week, the Satanist Monument.
Oh.
I think it's in Oklahoma or Florida. I can't for the life of me remember for some reason.
Oklahoma.
It's in Oklahoma.
Yeah, it is.
So for those who don't know, in Oklahoma there's the classic court case of there's the Ten Commandments in front of the courthouse. It has no business being there. So why is it there? And we should take it down. Well, this group found a very creative way to counter this idea. If one religious group has the right to put up their religious monument, then every religious group should have that same right. So a Satanist organization decided to propose, and they'll likely win, putting up I think it's like a 6-foot-tall, goat-headed man sitting on a throne, surrounded by an upside-down star, with smiling children standing around him. It's designed in such a way that it's supposed to be a chair that you're able to sit on. You can sit on Satan's lap.
Like Santa Claus, okay.
It's the same thing, really.
Both are fictitious.
Wait, I never actually thought about that. Santa Claus is kind of like a religious figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once you find out that
he doesn't exist,
once you find out that Santa Claus doesn't exist, apply the same skepticism to the religion and see what happens.
What's that with people though? Looking up to like, it seems like people just have this like complex where they look up to these imaginary old men.
You see, they don't have a complex. They have a complex shoved down their throats.
Goat man.
I wouldn't have believed in Santa if my parents didn't tell me he existed.
Oh.
This is a huge tangent, but I'm viciously against the idea of telling children there's a Santa Claus.
Oh, I know, it's horrible. One of my cousins is like 12 years old and she still believes in Santa. And I'm like, seriously? You have to tell her sometime.
No, but I think it's just damaging in general. Because
Yeah.
first off, there is the possibility that your kid is going to react badly. Like, you lied to me for the first, 5, 6, or 12 years of my life.
Trust issues, yeah.
It's just like, how could you do that to me? And it's just terrible.
And then they'll question, okay, well, if
It's
you
like, why
told
should
me,
I trust you about anything?
if you told me this is true, then how do I know that you're not just lying about this and that and this and that?
And a lot of times children figure it out on their own, so then they kind of just gradually go away from it. But doesn't it sound better teaching children that it's a good idea just to wish your family well and give each other presents?
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound like I would love to just have a, what is it called? It's like White Santa or White Christmas or something. White Elephant. That's what it's called. A White Elephant party. Okay, so a White Elephant party is you choose an amount of money, like $20. You all get presents, and then you're just like, I'll take that one, and then you just pick up the present.
Interesting.
And then you can there's a game involved. You can choose a present under the tree or take someone else's present.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And it's a game, and I think that's fantastic.
I would do it by playing a game of Sorry. I just got that board.
Make your own holiday tradition.
Still on the Sorry kick.
I think it's more creative when you do it like that.
And I think it's fun instead of it just being like, you deserve these presents because it's Christmas.
The fat man wants to give you something.
A fat man with
Give him the
old...
cookies.
No, there's some damaging thought patterns right there. Self-entitlement, which is totally actually what we were just talking about.
Fat man wants to give you something because you're good. Because you've been a good boy.
Oh, and also, what child has ever actually received coal?
I'm pretty sure someone has.
Someone's probably
the most bratty child I've ever heard of has always still received presents on Christmas.
It's a scare tactic.
And no, this is the one thing that amuses me so much is people honestly think that if you don't tell a child that there's a Santa, they won't be good.
Really? So it's a form of control then.
It is a form of control.
That's why we tell kids that Santa Claus exists, because it's just control. Okay.
That's ridiculous.
Drum roll.
And do you want to work just as well?
What?
If you don't act well, I'm not going to get you any presents.
Oh, that's true.
Like, does it make it why does adding a fictitious creature make it more believable?
How dare you call Santa a creature?
No, why do we owe it?
No, I'm sorry. Santa is an obese German trespasser.
Who might also be a pedophile. Don't forget about that.
You guys are wrong.
Well, what? If he wants children to sit on his lap, there's obviously something wrong with the guy.
Man. You guys are sick. We gotta have fun with this sometimes. We got to.
But yeah, so the reason that I wanted to bring up this particular idea is that a lot of religious groups feel that they are the right religion and therefore they deserve special treatment.
Ooh boy.
Oh,
And we don't live in that country. We do not live in a theocracy, no matter how much it might seem like it. So, honestly, there's been a lot of news reports with David Silverman, the president of American Atheists, and I agree with basically everything he said. Is it like, I don't think there should be any religious monuments on public property. But if you give the right to Christianity, then you have to give the right to be Satanists. They have just as much right. They are just as legitimate as your religion. They are both fantasies, and apparently in this country, fantasies get their own monuments. So, there you go. If you don't want it there, you have to ban all of them.
The Fugla statue. Go.
And do you know what I would totally go for? I'm a universalist, so I want the entire ground covered in my monument. It's a 1-inch tall cement tiling. So the rest of the grounds of the public square belong to my religion.
Why not just put up a globe?
Okay.
No, it's like, is there a space requirement?
Probably.
Are you not allowed to? I want the rest of it.
Can somebody build on top of yours?
Fine, whatever.
Or around it, maybe.
On top of it, make a sandwich of monuments. Make it as ridiculous as possible until we get rid of this stupid treatment we give religions.
Agreed.
Why do we give them tax breaks too?
Oh, there's one. No, originally it made sense. The idea is that if you are a charitable organization, then the profits you make for your charity should not be taxed. That makes sense.
I agree.
Like, do we agree that makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. The last time I checked, religion doesn't do much charity anymore.
No, it doesn't. But if you declare yourself a religion in our country, you automatically are considered charity. If you're not, you have to jump through 1,000 hoops to become, I think it's 103C8, charitable organization status. I think I got my numbers and letters mixed up, but that's the idea, is you have to apply, you have to jump through hoops, and you have to meet extremely strict criteria.
So then by that logic, Scientology gets tax breaks.
It does get tax breaks.
What?
It already does.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Yeah,
and that is
there's a church affiliate.
And that is a transparent, made-up religion. Like, we know for a fact. We know when it was made up.
The dude even said it.
The dude even said he made up the religion. But they get tax breaks. But American atheists have to jump through 1,000 hoops to get tax breaks.
Because we're not a religion.
Honestly.
Even if it's charitable?
But the thing is, that's like, someone crunched the numbers at some point. That's several $1 billion of money that could be used to, like, fund schools or something.
Which will affiliate really.
As opposed to going directly in churches' pockets.
That's kind of disturbing.
Especially because we have no, like, we basically, like, the government has absolutely no right to question at all what they're spending their money on.
There's a reason why your pastor has a better car than you and doesn't live in the city you attend church in.
There's a reason why he drives a freaking Mercedes. Yes.
Yeah, drives a Mercedes 30 miles to get to the church.
From Montgomery County to West Philly. Just saying.
I'm just like, how do you people sleep at night?
You don't question God's will.
Yeah.
No,
So
it's
be
bad.
quiet,
No, you can't do that. It's the will of God that he drives.
That's another bad mindset.
Oh, you don't question the will of God.
Lack of scrutiny.
There's been a couple quotations that I've read that Satan tries to draw you in with reasoning.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. There was
You
a
saw
sign
that?
in the
So
south.
why
There
does
was like,
Satan seem like the good guy?
Beware of becoming
Read your
too
Bible.
good.
Satan is the good guy. Let's see, what are the horrible things that Satan has done? Huh. Let's see.
Made a deal with
gave-
Jesus to torture Lot.
Or was
No,
it
Job.
Lot? Yes.
Job.
No, here's what Satan did.
Mm.
He gave the knowledge of good and evil to mankind.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He taught them what death was. He killed a handful of people, like one family. And let's see. He was exiled from heaven for refusing to love people as much as he loves God.
Poor Satan.
Wow.
Who's
but
the
wouldn't
bad
God
guy
be?
here?
God should have been flattered by that.
No, because he didn't obey him. That's the thing about religion, especially the Judeo-Christian ones, it is nothing but flat out obedience. Do not question. Do not think for yourself.
Just do as you're told.
Just do as you're told.
Automaton.
It's like I was reading a thing that was Margaret from the larger Free Thought Society. She was talking to this extremely homophobic guy who was the God Hates Fags posters.
Right.
It was disgusting. But even though when you look at the picture, you can't really tell if they're both men. So it could just be two dudes playing leapfrog. Or a man and an androgynous woman.
Wow.
Man,
doing it from behind, apparently. Because you definitely can't do that with women. Anyway,
true.
Margaret had a long conversation with him, and it basically ended with the guy just like plugging his like fingers in his ears and saying, "You're trying to lead me away from God. Stop trying to tempt me."
So basically, he might as well just said, "Nah, I'm not
That's
listening."
basically what that was.
That is what it's everything is hand waving.
It's ridiculous.
These are damaging thought patterns. The idea that you should not question, the idea that you should levy all of your complaints and problems about the world onto other people, that you should not take responsibility for your own actions.
They make you a slave.
It sounds like
They do make you religion makes you a slave. By definition, you are I'm going strictly Christianity now. You are an unworthy sinner, but we can cure you for a price.
Which is?
Complete servitude to our
Basically,
religion.
Create the disease and create the cure.
So they're like a drug company that makes the virus.
It's basically they poison your water supply and then they give you an antidote.
And if you don't comply, you're going to die from it.
Jeez.
Actually, that's not actually an apt analogy. It's putting sugar in your water supply. You notice a taste difference, and then they give you a cure. And if you don't accept it, they kill you.
Oh, that's an
It's creating a fake disease, providing a fake antidote, and then threatening you with violence if you don't comply to it.
Eternal violence at that.
Well, yeah, but I don't care what they. I'm gonna burn in hell. Sounds lovely.
But that kind of segues into parenting a little bit. Authoritative versus authoritarian parenting.
Authoritative versus authoritative.
Is there a difference?
Yes. Authoritative is more of like your child does recognize that assuming that you have more knowledge than them and that you know kind of the ways of life and everything, but you allow your child to still question, and deal with you in a less strict way. Whereas authoritarian is more of like, you better do as I say because I'm the parent, you can't question it. So authoritative, they know you're the boss, but you still have an open door policy. Authoritarian is flat out, look, you are my child, and that's final. You can't question anything I say.
I refuse to be that kind of parent.
Yeah. Authoritarian is not the way to go, because that's what creates all the scares.
I refuse to be like either. It would be like my dream of like if I do ever have children, which isn't exactly in the cards at the moment. But if I end up having kids, I really want them to go like, if they come up to me and say, "Dad, I really want this new 4D video game," which we'll totally have by then. I'll just flat out say,
time?
No, I'll just say like, demonstrate to me that you both deserve this game and that you will actually use it.
But that's still authoritative. Authoritative doesn't necessarily mean I'm the boss. You are in control of the situation.
No, but they have not just much control. If they can, like, it's just like, let's say, I mowed the lawn. I did all of the dishes. I've done this for like 2 weeks. The game is inexpensive. I found it on sale. I'm going to play it to its completion, which is going to take 600 hours because video games will be awesome by then. And then I'll be like, you have made a sufficient argument. Here is the money needed to purchase this game. Like, I think that's a much more apt way of dealing with things. And I just yammered on pointlessly for that long, and now we're out of time for this segment.
Yay.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Join us again in 15 minutes, and we'll continue the show. You can email us at drexfreethought@gmail.com. You can go on our Facebook. You can go on our Twitter, post comments and questions. And you can call us if you join our Skype channel at Drexel Freethought. Have a nice day.
Oh, Steve, remember